Flat Earth Debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Liam, Refracted, Adam, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
How are you?
Good afternoon.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
I really want to make one of those inside jokes about the pre-show, and then have put Nathan in a position where he's got to explain it. But I'm not
feel
going to
free.
do that.
What? That you said
I don't mind.
What? That you said protecting liars?
It's enough of a segue for me to have to explain already, so you go ahead, John.
Damn it.
When you're talking about exposing the lie, make sure you get the lie correct that's actually being told.
Okay, so for context, for the audience, we were discussing NASA astronauts specifically in the pre-show, and the contentious aspect of the discussion was Neil's suggestion that astronauts know there is no sky vacuum. That is to say, astronauts know space is fake. John and myself would say otherwise. The lie, you can categorically prove, is that there is no space for them to be in, were they to assert that they have been in one. Now, the suggestion that upon lying about being in an area that doesn't exist automatically implies that you know the area does not exist isn't reasonable. In the same way, if you are a fully trained racing car driver and you are scheduled to go and drive a particular model of Z30 F1 Ferrari, and you are scheduled to go in it, but for whatever reason, fate suggests that you can't, and it gets cancelled and you don't go in the car, and you talk to the press about how excited you were to test out the new ABS, and it turns out there was never a car. Ferrari never built it. It didn't ever exist. But as far as the person suggesting that they're disappointed that they'd be going in it, they didn't know that there wasn't actually a car. Now, in the same exact scenario, if that same F1 driver turned around to the press and told them that they did drive the car and they really enjoyed the new ABS system, obviously that would be a lie. But when it came to a court case about this particular incident, and the F1 driver's quizzed about his lies about experiencing the ABS system, he confesses to having lied about using those brakes in that car. But it didn't mean he knew the car wasn't even real. He knew he was lying about being in a car. He just didn't know that that particular car he was lying about being in didn't even exist. So it's not reasonable to suggest simply by lying about the car and its brakes and the performance, because he's lying about driving it, means he knows there isn't even a car. It doesn't necessarily follow that knowing that there isn't a car would be inferred from him lying about being in it, if that makes sense. I hope it does.
Yes, because
So they continue the lie. Hold on. So they continue it. They go up on the pulpit of a church and say how they were one of the last men to orbit the moon or the Earth, whatever.
That's a lie.
So the lie continues.
No, that's a lie.
They don't know.
Your objection to the guy who went up in Times Square Church, former astronaut, and talked about his experience in orbit around a sphere Earth in a sky vacuum is a lie. And you can, with absolute and total justification, call that for what it is, a lie. However, if you turn around and tell anybody that he knows space is fake, that's not reasonable.
It is a non sequitur. That does not follow.
But since when do we care about motive or whether they know or not if they're lying? If they're lying, we know that they're lying.
It's
That's all that
not
matters.
about motive. No, it's not about
I just
motive.
don't understand
It's
why you guys
about
are.
what they know. You can't lie about something that you didn't state, right?
It'd be nice if I could hear Mighty
about
Mush
what
get his
you
whole
know.
statement out.
No, I'm just gonna say I'm genuinely confused why you guys are like sugarcoating their lies and like coming up with all these analogies. Like what's this all
Me
about?
too.
I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it.
Well, I'll
Because
state
it's
that for you.
important.
It's important.
Because
John has summarised it beautifully once already. It's important to get the lie correct if you're going to call someone a liar.
I can call them a liar without
because
noting
we
their
know the
motive or
astronauts are
whether they
lying,
know that
but
they're
we don't
lying
know
or
if
not.
the engineers are lying.
Right, let's let Mush get to the end of at least one sentence. Then, Liam, go ahead, Mush.
If I know something is 100% lie, and that if I know 100% that they're lying about it, why would I even care about their motive or whether they know or what they believe about space or not? I don't even care about it.
Neil?
You know what I mean?
Well,
I'm
yeah,
confused
but
why
Neil
you
doesn't
guys
agree. Then we're going to go to Liam. Neil, who cares about their motivation, says Mush, that you were so desperate to hear. Now you're not responding to him.
Oh no, John was interrupting him. I just wanted to hear the whole thing.
You just wanted to neg John.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, you just wanted to neg John. Go ahead, Liam.
Well, we know the astronauts are lying because they claim to go to a sky vacuum knowing full well they're not going there. But the original conversation was about engineers and whether the parts they're making, whether they know, aren't going to a sky vacuum.
See, you just said like they know they're not going there,
There-
and that's what the whole
There's
thing is about. Do we care?
Yes, they
Do they know
know
or
they
not
are
if they're
not
lying?
going to an area. Well, let me just say it because I want you guys to understand this, or from my perspective on it. They know they've not gone into orbit around a sphere Earth in a sky vacuum. They know that has never happened. They are lying when they say that. However, if they say they believe it's a sphere and they believe in outer space, or that they believe in gravity, that is not a lie. You cannot hold them to task on it.
And we're not.
In
Nobody cares about
2024 we
any of our
can.
beliefs. Yeah.
No, Neil does, Mush. This is Neil's issue. Neil's like, I can call
No,
them
it's not.
liars.
Hold on. It's not Neil's issue. I didn't say the astronauts. I said there's people higher than them, the ones in the authority.
No, that's just
You just put it on the astronauts. My issue is the guy in Times
No, I shot that down.
because see how I lied.
No,
But
I shot.
2024, there's no excuse.
No, I shot down the hidden hand garbage, didn't I? Then we continued with the conversation about astronauts. We were specifically talking about astronauts, and the point that's come out of it is, if you're going to call someone for being a liar, call them out for being a liar, you have to be specific about what they're lying about, and it has to be a lie. That is to say, they have malice aforethought, and it's not true. Well, if somebody is telling you that they've been to a place that isn't real, it's perfectly acceptable for me to believe or to accept as a logical, reasonable understanding of how people behave, to accept that people believed they were gonna get to go through the wardrobe door into Narnia. And they've trained to go through the wardrobe door into Narnia. And they've trained here with simulations of what Narnia will be like when they get there. And then for whatever unfortunate circumstances befell them as an individual, they didn't get to go through that door. And they did not get to go to Narnia. And then they lie about going. That bit's a lie. Because they didn't go. Now, we know they didn't go because the place isn't real. That's how we can prove they're lying. But they didn't know that was the reason they had to lie. And I'm almost certain that they'd have been given a very, very different reason for why they'd be lying when they're put in a position to have to lie. But that doesn't mean they know the truth. They don't know the motivation behind the overall lie, which is to say there is no wardrobe and there is no Narnia, and that's why you couldn't go. But all your training still happened. It's just it wasn't really beneficial for Narnia travel because there isn't any. Does that mean that the guy who lied about actually going to Narnia, if he knew the truth that there was no Narnia, he wouldn't have been a convincing liar when he lied about going there? He's still got to believe it's a real place and be able to cognitively put himself in that place that he believes is real to describe how it was for him when he lies about going there. If they knew, in fact, I'm going to go with this now, it's far more likely they don't know. Because if they did, they'd be really, really pushed to lie about it, convincingly. I can't give them too much to lie about. Just lie about you not being able to go on this particular occasion, not cover up the entire grand conspiracy of space by lying about going there, please. I just think that's implausible.
Yeah, and it's extremely implausible when you look at some of the greatest minds and inventors that we know of had a heliocentric belief. We cannot hold people accountable as liars for acceptance without evidence.
Yeah, you can't call them liars for holding beliefs. You can hold them accountable for lies that they've, for whatever reason, lied about from within that belief. Whether they know it's a belief or not is irrelevant. Only the bit that you can prove is a lie. In this case, there definitely isn't a Narnia. Let's just flick between that and the actual real discussion. There is no sky vacuum called outer space. So any man who claims to go there is a liar. Not carte blanche, every word comes out his mouth is lies, but the words they state about being in space are lies. Because there is no space to be in, ergo they can't be anything other than liars when they claim to be in Narnia. I mean space. Bit past the 15-minute mark, which is too late to do housekeeping. You know, we're doing this with a dirty room, whether we like it or not. But we do have a couple of different choices after a call to action. So QE, if you're a regular watcher, joined the show a couple of days ago. And tentatively, let's just say, that's a gross under-exaggeration, we found out why he'd been away for a couple of weeks, which is to say he's got financial woes. And he's disappeared to sort them out. And as a YouTuber, a fellow YouTuber, I know that there's an audience that will want QE here rather than solving financial ways through whatever means he's solving them by. That is to say that with a campaign which Adam Meakin has put together, and I and others have already supported, we can put him back on the air as quickly as possible so that he's not trying to solve a financial woe by whatever means QE does that by, I don't know. So as I say, we've put together a campaign. We did drag out of him precisely how much financial hardship he is in. And it's more than a couple of grand, which is obviously not an insignificant amount of money. That said, we've already reached like $788, so that's pretty fantastic. What I'm going to do is put a link to this GoFundMe, or it's not. I keep saying GoFundMe. That's just like saying Hoover. It's a Give, Send, Go campaign as opposed to a GoFundMe campaign. Yeah, if indeed you can't generously give financially, that is. Link by clicking the share button. There's already been 2 people who've clicked that button, and you'd be surprised how effective that is if indeed you can't necessarily financially contribute. So at the very least, normally we're doing a call to action for the videographer that we're covering, but in this case it's let's try that again, a Give, Send, Go campaign that we're promoting with the link going by in the live stream chat right now. So go and do it right now. Click on it, and rather than sharing this show, this will be to my viewership detriment, but for the people who are there now, rather than me doing a call to action to share this show, go and click on the share button if nothing else. Obviously, I'd prefer if you went and, you know, gave him $5. If every single person in the audience now, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, 70 odd people watching now. Please go and click on the link that's going by in the live stream chat. Give generously to Quantum Eraser's support campaign. If you can't financially support it, please click on the share button. But we will do a few shout outs for all the people who have actually done that so far, while obviously people follow my call to action and click on that link. So hopefully when they come back, we'll just be doing the ends of the shout outs for all of those people, good people that have actually supported it already in the last 12 or 13 hours. So we'll do that now. If I can get to the bottom of this list, let's just do that. It's slightly covered up, so let's just sort that out. So, a big shout out to Anonymous Giver, myself, another Anonymous Giver, Len Lennox, thank you very much indeed for supporting the campaign. Curic Cosmology, or is it Quranic Cosmology? I have to excuse my terrible reading out of some of these names. It's on a very, very small pixelated 4K display, so the words are tiny to me, in case you're wondering why I can't read English. Another Anonymous Giver, thank you very much for supporting the campaign. Vlad on 0 Degrees, who's with us now under a different name, Mush, thank you very much indeed for supporting the campaign. Jerry, thank you very much indeed. Jerry Mersil, really appreciate the support. Flat Earth Fisherman, woohoo, thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate your support also. LLB Store, I believe is one of my patrons, thank you very much indeed. And yet another anonymous contributor to the campaign. So thank you very much. If indeed you do contribute during this live stream, I'll give you a shout out on this show. So, as I say, if you can't afford necessarily to support QE's campaign financially, please click on the share button. It is dead easy, a bit like in YouTube. It'll bring up all your favourite places. If you don't want to put it on one of those and you've got an obscure one, there's a easy copy link button so you can paste it into an email or whatever else that you'd like to do to share it. But all the common places, you know, Facebook, X and WhatsApp and such like, are there to click on with one extra click after clicking the share button. But preferably you'd just give him $5 or $10 or $100 or whatever you want to give him. Give generously. Hopefully that's given everyone enough time to toddle along to that. I won't do a straw poll on what video we'll cover. We'll just have a little chat about QE's woes while people rejoin the stream, and then we'll get into covering a video. That sound good, lads? And lasses, if there are any? Yes, Nathan, sounds great. Great call to action, by the way. Oh, thanks. I hadn't rehearsed it or anything. Felt smooth.
Did you, when you were talking about QE, I had to step away for a moment. I'm sorry. You did address the fact that as a community, what we owe QE is priceless in the information that he has shared with us. Did you point that out?
I did, but on balance, while that is true, I do kind of feel he owes me. If I'm ruthless.
Can I just say one thing?
Go ahead, whoever that was.
Yeah, it's me, bro. If I had to match my donation with the amount of respect and admiration I have for QE, it would be in millions of dollars. Like literally.
Amen. Amen. Very well said.
Yes, me downplaying it and satirizing it is done out of respect also as a Brit. But I concur, absolutely. The respect we have for QE is very, very high. And, you know, without really a second thought. In fact, the only pain in the arse in this campaign was QE himself, because he's a proud guy and he doesn't want to accept help. He's got two hands and can do things to earn money out of a difficult situation which he's found himself in. And he didn't want to even tell us about it. But after we found out and then got a dollar value on it, it immediately became a campaign. So it's like, you know, if this dollar amount will get you immediately broadcasting again, then so be it. You know, that's something that we can do. And the amount of support I've had over the years, you know, I've been doing this 10 years and I've done enough GoFundMe and GiveSendGo and Patreon and various other campaigns that I've run for myself and others. You're like, yeah, we've got a wonderful community that can support tiny YouTubers who are oppressed by the very platform that they found themselves watching them on. And none of us, me included, would be surviving in this arena if it wasn't for the support of the people who watch. And the people who watch, Mush is echoing the sentiment of thousands, literally, because they all feel the same. You know, they tell me regularly, and the support is shown in a dollar bill amount when we do things like this. And QE's never had any support, to my memory. You know, he gets his bit of pocket money out of him doing his shows and getting a few super chats and that, but he's never really asked for anything. So when you're like, oh, right, well, this is good in a way because it means we can actually show you with pound notes how much we appreciate you. And sometimes it does take that. And when it's because of a financial strife that you find yourself in, you tend to find that people are a lot more grateful. And that gratitude we got from QE was slightly unnerving when he's tentatively telling us things that we're dragging out of him. And then when we're explaining to him, we'll solve this, he's grateful. But John summarised it in one of the after shows when he's like, he's not calling me a numpty, it don't feel right.
It doesn't. It didn't. And to see someone who I have so much respect for and who is so indomitable be in a situation that's beyond his control was heartbreaking for me. And I just want him back to calling me a retard and telling me what I did wrong. And I think as a community, we need that.
Exactly. And like I say, when it is something, I don't want to make it sound menial, but when it is something financial, there's people in the audience that are like, I can easily justify this $20 to see QE hit like sometime next week rather than sometime next month or next year because things have snowballed or whatever. You know, you can quickly prevent these things from snowballing with a good community behind us. And I know already I've got a good community behind us. You know, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't, you know, scrape by as I do without that community. You know, I'm thanking them daily when I do my Patreon shout-outs. Speaking of which, shout-out to Shatner's Bassoon. He says, meanwhile, the Globe Zealot channels get the dollar. Yeah, they do. And you could be bitter about that, Shatner's Bassoon, but you drive yourself nuts if you compare yourself to other YouTubers. So, on balance, I could say, well, Simon Dan gets every hit that's owed to me. Well, you could argue that, but then you could just compare us to fitness channels and say, well, they are massively outweighing us in terms of the YouTube algorithmic love that they're receiving. How unfair. You could go on and on and on. And you just drive yourself nuts if you do. All I can do is look at my stats and know whether they're going in the right direction, that's up, or not. And if they're not, do something about it. And focus solely on my stats, because they're the only ones I get access to. So, concerning myself with what the Globe opponents do because of some Congress decree, whatever the word is, that suggests YouTube need to put a tramp stamp under everything we do and promote Simon Dan ahead of us. Well, that's the world we live in. You know, I chose this subject. You know what I mean? I've only got myself to blame. Thank you for the super chat, by the way, Shanta's Bassoon.
I will say, though, that when David challenged Goliath, it wasn't like David had a bunch of flowers thrown at his feet as he walked out to meet the giant. There will be obstacles and hurdles within our way as we try to spread the information that we understand. Doesn't mean you give up, and that doesn't mean you let someone who has effectively changed your understanding of the world alone. It becomes your duty, because that man has given of himself freely. I feel it's not a duty, but it feels like an obligation because of what he has done.
Well, he hasn't actually given himself freely. That's not strictly true. I had to twist his arm to become a YouTuber after a lot of incessant nagging. Anyway, shout out to The Flat Out Truth, who just contributed $5. Thank you very much indeed for contributing during the live stream. That really makes a difference, because obviously the people watching can see live interaction with the campaign. So thank you so much for contributing, Flat Out Truth. That $5 actually means more than you can imagine. So yeah, I've put another link in the YouTube live stream chat. So if you did want to go and support the campaign, somebody else has shared. So there's now 3 shares rather than just the 2. And it will make a world of difference if you can share the campaign, if you can't contribute financially. So thank you again to Flat Out Truth for supporting the campaign. As I say, there is a link going by in the live stream chat now if you did want to support QE financially in his endeavours and woes that he is trying to overcome currently. And let's get him back broadcasting as quickly as possible. Okie dokie. Right. We will come back to that shortly. In the meantime, yesterday there was a couple of choices in terms of which video we were going to cover. We've got Jesse Lee Peterson, which is Dave, and we've got the Christian one. Those are the two videos that we didn't cover yesterday when we had a choice of 3. There was a 4th, but it was very sweary apparently, so we're not going to cover that. Are we in the mood to cover one that's Christian-centric, or should we cover another Dave video? We did cover him a few days ago, but I don't necessarily mind if we do choose to do Dave. 100 people watching. Maybe I should do a quick straw poll. Number 1 for Dave. Number 2 for this Christian dude, Voice of Prophecy. So number 1 for Dave, number 2 for Prophecy. Let us know. You can see him on screen and get a look at whose face you like more. Dave's handsome face or this guy's glorious beard. You be the judge of which one you want to cover. I have no idea what's in either. The one that's from Dave is a longer video that has been timestamped though, so we're at the 1 minute 25 mark, so I assume someone's actually picked out something of relevance. Anyway, you tell me from the chat. A couple of 2s, a couple of 1s. I'll look in a few minutes. Did anybody on the panel have a preference for which one we cover? Hello?
Got back again, sorry.
Pick one.
Well, that's really helpful, Neil. You're normally so vocal about these things.
Yeah, I'm doing an audit and I haven't been paying attention.
You're busy working. I can appreciate a man that's putting in some graft, Neil. Level pegging in the audience, so you're going to have a deciding vote.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You're really quiet. Is that you, Adam?
Yeah, I'm making it in favour of the 2s at 6 or 7 to 3. Yeah, definitely 2.
Yeah, I've just seen the
I'll go with 2.
Or
Yeah.
if he's got a nice beard, let's give him a go.
Well, I mean, he has got a very, very majestic beard. Would you not agree? Look how well trimmed that is. Right, we're going to do this, dude. Is he pro, con? Does anybody know about this? His YouTube channel is called The Voice of Philosophy, and he's not a massive YouTuber. Yeah, please leave him a comment and throw him a few views. As always, I'm putting a link to this particular videographer in the YouTube Lives chat. So please go while we are doing the call to action. I know there's quite a few going on right now, but there is 100 people watching. So like me, he's got a smaller channel. Please share in the YouTube algorithmic love. Go along to his channel. Let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And just hint at the fact that we have covered his video. I don't know if it's going to be positive or negative. Obviously, I'm doing this completely cold based on a suggestion from my Master B consortium of contributors to this show. So there's the link going by. Please click on it. Let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. The idea being that if he were to respond, he would put a link to my video and help me in the YouTube algorithmic love that I definitely don't receive. We were just discussing how Congress have basically shoved us to the bottom of lists effectively via YouTube's or the demands of Congress to YouTube. Anyway, enough of my bleatings about the shares that we don't get, the impressions that we don't get, therefore the ad revenue that we don't get. But hopefully this guy will appreciate that if he was to do a response, because he's in the same boat. He's not got a massive channel. So Voice of Prophecy is the name of it. The video is called What Have Christians Historically Believed About the Shape of the Earth? So that's the name of his video. Voice of Philosophy, as I say, is the channel. And we'll get into this unless there's anybody that's got any comment before we do.
Just one. Who cares? If that's the title. I'm not so fussed about the argument that's going off in the Christian community that I'm, we're part of and paying attention to. Isn't really focused on what Christians believed. It's what Scripture says should be the focus for me.
Okay, well, we'll see if there's
Correct.
Sense.
Correct.
We'll see if his assessment in terms of Bible literacy is realistic or not once we get into it. Anybody else? 104 people watching. Let's get into it.
We're going to do it again, and I'm hoping for the last time. If you've had people bothering you with all that really weird flat earth stuff, trying to tell you the flat earth is the historical Christian position, well, you might just want to see today's episode.
Yes, please.
Hold on a minute. Are we just solely going to look at this in the context of a historical narrative?
I mean, that seems like a reasonable standard to assess it on if he's talking about the Bible and what it says. Would you not agree?
Yeah, but the thing is this is an objective fact we're supposed to be discussing, whether the Earth is flat or is curving. I feel like it's just you would first have to establish what the Earth is with evidence before you can judge them.
Well, let's say if he does. Maybe he's going to bring some globe proof that I haven't seen in the Bible.
The standards that will no doubt be presented can and will be assessed by him and us on its historic standards, because it's only reasonable if you're dealing with the Bible. That is not to say that at every opportunity that presents itself will point out the facts of the matter in terms of the actual nature of Earth, based on its measurements. Notwithstanding every single evidence-based proof that we will and do present daily, he'll get a barrage of those too every opportunity, John.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that the way he set this video up, I don't agree with. Who cares if what they believed about the nature of reality then, if you don't know what the nature of reality is now? You know what I mean? It's kind of like...
I do and I don't, because
what
he thinks he does know, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. That's why I was kind of picking on him. You got it. I'll shut up now.
Already balls things up. Just give me a second. Yeah,
don't be making fun of... If you live in a glass house, don't throw rocks, or your cousins. You know what I mean? That's kind of what this is going to be a lesson.
Don't throw rocks. Nice Michelle Thaler reference. All right, let's get into it.
Can't hear nothing.
You are? What do you mean?
I can't hear anything.
Can't hear anything?
I could hear the music.
You're not getting the music, Neil?
No, nothing in G+.
Nope.
And Discord was fine.
Yeah, sounds fine in Discord.
Why aren't you getting anything in G+? That's bizarre. Okay, I don't know why. We'll have to come back to that.
Okay, I really debated whether or not we should do this topic again today because, well, I've done it once in the past and it kind of brought some really interesting people out of the woodwork. Apparently, it actually made some people mad, and more people than you might think. Sadly, there's enough of what we're going to talk about going around right now that I really think it's becoming something of a widespread problem. It's not going away. So, I've decided to address this one last time, even though I think it's pretty silly. What am I talking about? It's the flat earth conspiracy people. And honestly, it's hard to believe that we need to talk about this in the 21st century.
Can you hear it now? I've shared it with you.
Yes, I can hear it, and I'm tired of flat earth being a conspiracy. Let's talk about the real conspiracy, the one you think we're in.
This has got multiple layers, though, hasn't it? Like yesterday, he could be referring to what is regurgitated by many a quote-unquote flat earther, which is the Feast of Nonsense. Now, when he says flat earth conspiracy, I can only distance myself from the idea that he possibly has about what a flat earther is based on what is punted into the mainstream about flat earthers. So, for now, let's work on the premise that he's talking about what a stereotypical flat earther is perceived to be when he critiques this. Obviously, we'll point out how we distance ourselves from that particular stereotype as we go. How about that?
Yeah, he's going to bring up the Feast of Nonsense people, yes.
There just seems to be this relentless group of people who think that they've come into a very special body of knowledge. They've uncovered a vast conspiracy by NASA and every single government agency on the face of the planet to hide the fact that the Earth is indeed flat. Now, just in case you...
No, that's wrong.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
We don't think we have special knowledge. We do not think we have special knowledge. You know it too, sir. And if you try to show us some of your evidence for a sphere, we'll show that you know it too.
you belong to that group, let me just say that you're going to be wasting your time by writing me letters, because I'm not going to answer them. And I know some of you are going to do it anyway, but I'm really not going to answer your letters. And
I mean, that's fair enough. I mean, we've appealed for people to leave you comments, which is no different. And obviously, you don't have to respond to us when we point out how Earth is measured flat for your sphere belief. You know, that's something that you can just ignore, if you choose to. You know, you can carry on in your sphere belief and not advance your understanding of how that sphere came to pass. Now, we offer that advanced heliocentric understanding without prejudice. That is to say, we offer it to heliocentrists as much as we do flat earthers. The origin of your faith in a globe comes from a flat Earth. That is to say, the measurements of Earth get turned into a globe, but those measurements are flat.
And yes, I absolutely believe in the Bible. Anybody who watches this program knows that I do. And no, I don't have to give any more answers after today. I really don't. All I'm going to do today is point out something I think is really, really important. You see, there's this misguided idea going around that the medieval Christian church actually believed the earth was flat.
Okay, he said the church. Do we take umbrage with his phraseology at this stage, or should we just play on a little bit more?
I'll allow him some latitude. Allow him some latitude, you know. This is,
that it took the likes of Galileo, Copernicus, and finally Columbus and Magellan to disabuse the church of this idea. And honestly, this is important to think about because
it's the standard rhetoric that the Western world are punted about exactly that. In fact, it's spun that there's oppression for some of these characters for punting out the idea that's true, that it's a ball, over and above the obviously accepted rhetoric at the time, if they're to be persecuted for suggesting it's a ball. The antithesis, that is to say that it's obviously got to be accepted that it is flat for them to be persecuted for suggesting it's a ball, as the rhetoric suggests. Now, you're trying to disavow this when it is just the current mainstream rhetoric. Unless someone's going to correct me, am I wrong in that?
No, that's my understanding why it would be challenging that or presenting that as something that's their story. Do you know what I mean?
So he's immediately conceding his own argument. Is that what you're telling me?
No, he's immediately stepped into being an anti-flat earther. Now, he doesn't know what stereotype category he's going to be put in when he's making this video, but we do. He's an anti-flat earther. What defines an anti-flatty? Well, somebody that obviously first and foremost braces against flat earth, as this particular person is, and many others do, but also, very specifically, their willingness to reject their own rhetoric in favour of opposing flat earthers. So, in order to oppose flat earthers, he's rejecting his own rhetoric. Anti-flat earther.
But his own statement was that the medieval church did not believe the earth was flat. And then he's making the statement that there were people that were persecuted who proved it was a globe. It is hitting you. That is stupid. He's disproved himself.
I want to hear biblical proof of a sphere. If not, all of this is just nonsense that we hear constantly.
Well, we're a couple of minutes in. We'll see how many Bible references we get for you, Neil. Let's carry on.
I've discovered a decidedly religious tone with a lot of these flat earth folks. I mean, there really are secular flat earth people as well, but from where I sit as a minister, they don't seem to get quite as worked up as the religious folks.
Now, necessarily feel affected by this. It's like I don't feel any disdain towards him because I don't feel like he's talking about me. You know what I mean?
He's not.
Yes.
He is not.
Referring to Neil.
He's talking to Neil.
He's
No,
not
Neil's
referring to Neil.
Neil's not spewing the feast of
No.
nonsense.
What he just said about who gets the most irate about this topic, and you can see why he's getting people being irate at him, because he's a minister. So of course people like him, we're not overly giving him grief because we don't see it as a deniement of scripture. So there's an added layer to the people that he's talking about that are getting irate, because they're not just irate about him not recognizing reality, they're angry that he's not recognizing scripture. What was Neil's put in there? Yeah, it was, when we're going to hear a little bit of scripture, you say.
Yeah, but that's not what he's talking about. See, I'm like Nathan. I don't consider me being part of who he's talking about. He's talking about the Feast of Nonsense people, I guarantee it.
He's talking about flat earth Christians are more militant towards him than your non-secular flat earthers.
Yeah, the Feast of Nonsense Christians. You're right.
Well, that's because he is Christian, correct? That's a matter of what would you call it? Like if you're in a group and you hold a different view to that group, of course people are going to challenge you. You know what I mean? Like that. It's just because he is a Christian and there are Christians who are flat earthers. Of course, they will be more likely to challenge him. Vehemently, or not vehemently, but be outspoken.
I think that'd be an ecumenical question.
Believers appear to think they've stumbled across a great conspiracy that must be exposed, that your salvation might be at stake if you don't accept what they're telling you.
Well, then
That's not true.
I was going to say, then they're idiot Christians. If they think your salvation's at stake.
That's not true at all.
If you don't understand that Earth is measured flat, you might not be going to heaven. Really?
I've had these people show up at events where I'm speaking, and they'll follow me around, telling me that they're worried about how God's going to deal with me if I don't sit down and listen to them. And I can assure you, according to this book, my salvation has nothing to do with the shape of the earth.
Yep, completely agree.
I agree,
Nathan,
but the way
if that's happening, if that is happening, then that's a bad showing on Flat Earth's part. I'm sorry. If there are people following him around, then that's sad news.
If there are people within the body of Christ that he is a part of, the church in which they glorify God, who are trying to tell him something and he's flat out ignoring them without any valid reason, yes, I think that will, you will have to justify that when you stand before him.
That's a different story, John. He doesn't have to say anything pertaining to the nature of Earth.
It is a different story, but what you're saying is it's unreasonable as a good, upstanding Christian to ignore your fellow Christian who is attempting to appeal to you. He's demeaned that as they're following me around, telling me I'm going to not be right with God if I don't listen to them. And you're saying, yeah.
Absolutely. It is part of you as a Christian to want to hear the concerns of your fellow Christians. If you're not doing that, you're not being very Christian. And now, if someone else disagrees with that, I would like to know why I'm wrong.
That's fair enough.
Well, I think the way you went about it and the way Tent went about it is perfect. If they're not going about it the way you guys have done it, then they're harassing the guy. So we don't know because we weren't there. This is his story.
Right. I'm just going off
But
what
now
you
let's get
said, though.
back to this idea that the church has historically taught that the earth is flat and only changed that in recent history. This is an idea that...
Well, that is absolutely factually true. We can show the history. We can show the changes. We can document the people who changed it by name. What is he just trying to rewrite history? If so, this is pretty sad.
that some atheists love to promulgate because it makes Christians look a little ridiculous. But wouldn't you know it? It's not actually true. The church did not teach that the earth is flat.
Why would they? I mean, what is written in the Bible versus what is worthy of teaching people are two very different things. Now, in terms of being able to back the principle of earth being flat with biblical text, that's not exactly that difficult. Backing the sphericity with biblical text is nigh on impossible. You've got to fudge it with circles and various other things. But that really isn't the point of your suggestion that the church didn't teach that it was flat. Oh, come on, let's go to Sunday school. What are we going to learn about today? A bit of geometry, children. I'm pretty sure they'll be teaching them, like, life lessons, you know, stuff that's useful. And in terms of Christianity, I don't see how useful it is to know the bleeding obvious. Why would that be a lesson at a church? Am I missing something? Why would this be an objection by him?
Because he's playing with words right now. Because they didn't explicitly teach that the earth was flat, therefore they were teaching it was a globe. If I let that non sequitur hang, then it is unopposed, and that is what they believed.
You know, they didn't teach how four-stroke engines worked in the Bible, did they?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They didn't teach French. They didn't teach woodwork, cooking. No, there's lots of things they didn't teach. But what they did teach was scripture and religion, because it was the church. If you wanted to learn about, so he's true what he's saying, but it's just not applicable. It's a bit straw-manny, isn't it?
And neither did medieval Christian scholars. We've known the earth is a sphere for a really, really long time.
Because they taught it in this example. Go ahead, let's see if that's the next words out of his mouth, because that's the standard he's just set, isn't it?
Of course, that doesn't mean that the idea of a flat earth never showed up among Christians.
That seems like a very ham-handed segue. You laid down a standard that you claim we didn't achieve that was non sequitur, and then made a baseless assertion that was backed by nothing. Not even your own standard you just laid down. What's the word for that? Hypocrite?
Christians at all, because it did.
And if you are a Christian and you see a fellow member or a fellow Christian who's being a hypocrite, it is behooving upon you to try to point out the hypocrisy to them so that they may repent and change the way that they're acting. So his appeal to they're following him around and everything, they're concerned about you, dude, and you're dismissing them.
Yeah, you should be flattered. I mean, obviously, if it's bordering on stalky and they're taking pictures of you and camping outside your house, that's a different matter. But if they're trying to appeal to you so they can have your ear for a few moments, and they're feeling justified in telling you God will smite you, which again I feel is a bit over the top, and you know, let's not rehash that.
And it's happening again. But today, it's the history of how this happened that I want you to think about, because it's not what you've been told, not even.
Just give us a Bible verse. You just made your baseless assertion. I mean, I don't want to repeat myself, but come on.
Close. You really can find ancient Christian writers who promoted the idea of a flat earth. But
what? Isn't that the contrapositive of what you just decried, followed up with a baseless assertion? There are scholars that taught flat earth. Did I hear that right? Am I going loopy? Am I just hearing?
No, he's doing a good case of destroying his own argument so far.
I want you to think about because
what he's doing. What he's getting ready to do is outskirt scholars taught the earth was flat, but as a general consensus among the church, it was always a sphere. That's what he's trying to push. He's going to push that idea, but he will never say it.
Okay, let's see if you're right.
It's not what you've been told, not even close. You really can find ancient Christian writers who promoted the idea of a flat earth. But here's the catch. There were only two of them. And until the 17 and 1800s, the rest of Christianity didn't take those guys seriously on just about anything they said. And I'll tell you who they were in just a moment. But before I get to that, let me introduce you to two other guys who were very popular speakers back in the 19th century, because
Who do you reckon he's going to pick? No guesses. Fair enough.
They traveled the countryside telling people that science and the Bible were irredeemably opposed to each other. Their names were John William Draper and Andrew Dickson White. Back in 18...
Ever heard of him?
I haven't.
No, me neither.
1874, John William Draper published a book called A History of the Conflict Between Religion and Science. It was a bit of a manifesto, really a polemic work designed to ridicule the intelligence of most Christians. And because Draper had published a very popular history of science before he put this book out, and because he was a very popular and gifted speaker, a lot of people took this work to heart.
Pound says it doesn't actually cover science. What do you reckon? Never heard of it, but I'm going to call that immediately.
Now, I'll give him credit where credit is due. He rightly pointed to the rise of Constantine in the marriage of church and state as a key turning point here in the West, a point where the church began to prize political power more than it did preaching the gospel. If you've been watching...
Wasn't the book titled Religion versus Science? Right?
This show, you know I believe that's true. The marriage of church and state back in the 4th century was not a good thing and led to some really embarrassing episodes for the church.
So far, nothing to do with science.
You know, like the burning of heretics at the stake and those kinds of things. But then Mr. Draper went one step further and suggested that the church rejected rationality and science at the very same time. Here's what he actually wrote. The antagonism we thus witness between religion and science is the continuation of a struggle that commenced when Christianity began to attain political power.
Meaningless word salad.
Now, you'll notice that this is a popular sentiment to this day.
Really? Let's define some of those terms then. See how sentimental I get about it, shall we?
Much to the chagrin of a growing number of
The chagrin? Love it.
Scientists who now realize that what you and I just read isn't actually true. The other guilty party in this story was the guy by the name of Andrew Dickson White, who was also a brilliant public speaker who never really had much trouble attracting an audience. When the American Civil War broke out, his speaking tours were no longer possible.
Not even funny, but this is dragging out a bit. Do we ever get to the globe proof or the anti-flat Earth, or what's this actually got to do with the shape of the Earth so far? This little last couple of minutes of waffle. Am I missing something again? Just feel like it.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
It seems to be a poisoning of the well fallacy against the church for them to be able to make rational scientific decisions, and that they would be inhibiting the development of any scientific progress. That seems to be what that guy's point is. Nothing, like I say, nothing to do with the nature of Earth, just to do with how the merging of state and church inhibited, I suppose, scientific and technological progression. Seems to be the claim there.
So he ended up directing his efforts to the political scene in New York State. But he really, really, really missed his years of study and research. And so he enlisted the help of a really good friend, the Quaker Ezra Cornell, and the two of them founded a new university together.
Okay, finally we've got a player we know.
And you probably guessed which university it is. It's Cornell University.
Yale. Oh.
The idea behind this new school was that people who taught there would be completely free of all external influences, including religion. Now, a lot of people found that idea kind of repulsive in that day, even dangerous, because they feared what might happen if their kids...
Oh my God, do we ever get to the actual meat of what he's claiming in regards to the subject matter?
Kids got an exclusively secular education.
It's not the poisoning of the well, because this institution, won't be affected by the church. It's gonna go. It's a ball, or it's gonna go. It's flat. I'm confused really as to whichever way. If that's what happens, the decision is. It's not supporting his argument. And
Right. Like I said, he can never prove his position. All he can do is convolute the matter to make the people that are trying to speak to him about what he is stating and in a concerned fashion seem like they're just psychos who are stalking him. That's all this is about, plain and simple.
Yeah, but it's boring. I lost interest about 2.5 minutes ago.
And so these two guys got a lot of opposition.
Are you having trouble trying to keep up with your professor?
Yeah, I am. It's really boring.
And the opposition made Mr. White a little bitter. So he composed a brand new lecture series he called The Battlefields of Science.
What? Battlefields of Science? Oh my God.
The story he told? I'm sure you can guess it. He said religion is the absolute opposite of science. In fact,
Really? Religion is the opposite of a cause and effect methodology, is it? This is such nonsense.
it's an enemy to science and
Religion and belief. That would be to say faith is the enemy of knowing things. I can put it in a context that actually makes some sense. It's not true, though.
a problem that had to be dealt with. The New York Daily Tribune printed that original lecture, and the rest is history. By 1896, Andrew White had published a really big book called A History of the Warfare of Science with Theology in Christendom.
Even the title is just a string of word salad, isn't it?
no, it's
He
exactly
openly-
what I said. See, it's got nothing to do with the topic. It's like say how the church and the marriage of the church and state will inhibit scientific growth. How it will prevent it going in certain directions. That's lovely. It's got nothing to do with anything.
I'll rephrase then. It's word salad in relation to the topic we're covering. We're responding to this because it's a video about what have Christians historically believed about the shape of the earth. This has absolutely no relevance.
Well,
They told
the only
everybody.
thing he's-
Go on.
The only thing he's saying seems to be that the opinion of the church is kind of invalid anyway, because they don't know what they're talking about with regards to science. That seems to be the point he's making. Do you agree, John? Because I am listening, but he's not helping.
I don't know how you put this diametrically opposed, because I don't know how you diametrically oppose belief. You know what I mean? Because you can accept something without evidence that is provable with evidence. You know, so like when you're talking about whether you know it or believe it, it is opposing each other really, but it's not like it's you know what I mean? Like I don't see that they are one completely excludes the other.
No,
It's just when you know, you can't believe. You know what I mean?
we can make examples with flat Earth itself and flat Earthers, and we're having to pepper this with disclaimers because of it. There's plenty of people in this arena, that's flat Earth, or the nature of Earth debate, that believe Earth is flat. Is that incongruent with what I know about how Earth is measured? Nope. It's just I know it and they believe it. Is one diametrically opposed or the opposite of the other? No, they're very, very closely related in this instance. Doesn't mean that one is a substitute for the other. Yeah, there's no substituting knowing damn well that it's flat and that's how it's measured versus, well, because I can show how not ball-shaped it is, I'm pretty sure I believe strongly it's flat. Because what else could it be? That's not as strong, is it? But they're not diametrically opposed. This is being peppered with the idea that science is somehow involved in this. So you're like, well, anything other than an empirically validated methodology would be the only thing that you could set up as the antithesis of science, because that's what science is. But this isn't discussing that. And it certainly isn't discussing the nature of Earth. We've not even got close to that yet.
Right. Science is not belief because it is acceptance with evidence, right? He's trying to talk about belief, acceptance without evidence, and put it in a situation where they're opposed as a straw man for the atheists, I believe, or is he trying to make that his argument?
everybody that it was a response to what happened when they founded Cornell. I tried to be nice, he said, but now I'm going to play offense. Both Draper and White insisted that only a simpleton would continue to believe in the words of the Bible. And that's an idea you'll still find running rampant on the battlefield of modern social media. I'm sure you've seen some of these people in their posts. Oh, believe in fairy tales all you want, but I'm going to be dedicated to reason and science. So, what would you guess would be one of the biggest points that Draper and White presented in these books of theirs?
I really couldn't give two shiny. Earth is measured flat. We navigate the world with use of angle measurements to the stars that have formed our mapping system. The grid system that we commonly use on maps, that's latitude and longitude, is measured flat. It's how the entire system has been developed. And all globe claims for you to justify in your mind as being already proven, for you to then have this roundabout ramble about nothing to justify why you believe Christians have got an idea about Earth being flat. It's just so non sequitur to the fact of the matter. Earth is flat. That's how it's measured, navigated, and built on. That's how it's observed. It's obviously, navigatably flat. That's what I've got to say on this. Go ahead, John.
I would like to say, though, if you're a Christian and there are Christians who are concerned about you, wanting to talk to you about a topic that you are entertaining, you shouldn't dismiss them like they're stalkers and idiots, because that makes you a dick.
Well, I'm not that guy. I'm not stalking this guy. I have no idea who he is. I don't know his name, and frankly, I don't care. I'll forget him entirely once we finish doing this live stream. That's the truth of the matter. Yeah? But what I'm telling him, he can take or leave. He doesn't have to concern himself that I'm going to be stalking him or I really want him to know my truth. I couldn't care less. If you understand how Earth is measured or not, isn't of any concern to me whatsoever. Yeah, I'm not like the people who do concern themselves with you, who want your ear. Me, I'm just making a show. Yeah, I'm reacting to this because you cover our subject matter in this. Or don't, as the case may boringly be.
You know, in my life, I had a woman that followed me around every day of my life and pointed out to me everything I did wrong that she seen. She was a stalker, and just, it was annoying.
Did she also pay the
But
mortgage
she's
with
also
you?
my mother. No, it was my mother.
Yeah,
in this
I knew it'd be a
example.
relation. Yeah, that's
Don't
it.
talk about people that care about you like that.
Exactly. People who care about you. These people who are appealing to him. I'm talking to him now when I say you. The people who are walking around following you, trying to appeal to you, and using extreme methodology to try and appeal to reason when they try and have your ear and you refuse it. They're people who love you. They're people who are concerned about you. They're people who have your best interests at heart. Unlike me, I genuinely don't care about you. You are nobody to me, and you will remain that after we finish this coverage. But I'm telling you what they want to get your ear on. And probably, no offence to them, wouldn't do quite as good a job in terms of the matter-of-fact Earth being measured flat bit. Because that's a new rhetoric for most flat earthers, including us, the ones putting it out. So I'm not going to expect them to do the same job that I'm doing right now. But what John is trying to put to you is recognise when people are concerned about you. You dismiss it like, these people are really concerned about me and how I feel about things. Bastards. Like, wake up and smell the coffee, mate. Realise what you're saying about the people who are obviously showing concern about you. Would it really hurt you to listen to them for a few minutes? Even if you'd necessarily dismiss them after the fact. Yeah? They want your ear because they have concern for you. Unlike me, I'll just tell you how it is. Earth's flat for your sphere belief. A flat measurement's required for you to believe in a sphere. Now, I'm not going to demean you for that, but I could. I won't. And the people who are chasing you, stalking you, they're not either. They genuinely have concern for you.
The church, they said, has historically taught that the earth is flat, and they even persecuted the people who said that it wasn't. The ancient Greeks, they said, on the other hand, they were dedicated to science, and they knew the earth was a sphere. But the church, being steeped in ignorance, refused to accept that idea because the Bible told.
Because it's a category error. What the Greeks knew because of science, the earth's a sphere. We knew a shape because of a cause and effect reasoning that deals with phenomena. That seems like, well, let's not pepper and sugarcoat it. It is a category error.
Don't worry, though. Mr. Faulkner will correct him.
It doesn't need correcting. He's just set it up because the Bible told them otherwise. See, now, if he's a historian, I can understand why he's mitigating this story like this. But he's a pastor, isn't he? And as he stated at the start, a Bible-believing Christian. So that's surely the point that you should be making your judgment on.
No, mate,
Yeah,
Greeks.
but on the last statement he made, Danny Faulkner will correct him on, just as Nathan did. He is in an absolute category error when he's appealing to science for this. Danny Faulkner is a PhD Christian astrophysicist, or astronomer, by the way, dude. He makes you look like a pup in this pond. Maybe you should pay attention to him when he tells you it's not science.
Notice how I'm not saying nothing?
No, you are saying something. We just heard you, Neil. Shush.
Told them
I'm tired
otherwise.
of.
Today, what these guys were teaching has come to be known as the conflict thesis, this idea that science and Christianity are at odds with each other. To this day, you'll see some skeptics using that idea to ridicule people of faith. But there's a problem. Either Draper and White didn't know their history, or they were being dishonest.
Or neither they or you know what science is.
Because their theory doesn't hold anywhere near the water that some people think it does.
And in his use of that word, he confirms that he definitely doesn't know what science is.
I mean, did the church really persecute Columbus for saying the earth was a sphere?
The word was theory, by the way, in case you didn't realise. This is where he poisons the well of his own rhetoric, anti-flat earthism incoming.
Did the church really teach that the earth was flat? The answer is absolutely not. And as soon as we take a really quick break, I'll come back to tell you what really happened.
Quick break? This is a YouTube video. Okay. We'll cut to commercial in this YouTube video then, maybe.
Here at the Voice of Prophecy, we're committed to creating top-quality programming for the whole family, like
Oh, wow. Tell me more.
our audio adventure series, Discovery Mountain. Discovery Mountain is a Bible-based program for kids of all ages and backgrounds. Your family will enjoy the faith-building stories from this small mountain summer camp and
Hey, don't assume what my family will enjoy.
down. With 24 seasonal episodes every year and fresh content every week, there's always a new adventure just on the horizon.
You'll need a flat earth for that horizon.
Here's a problem I find when it comes to all this flat earth stuff.
Say again?
Said very good. You'll need a flat earth for that horizon.
There's a handful of very vocal so-called believers who take advantage of social media to publish their misguided notions. What they do is insist that the Christian faith has always taught a flat earth until recent history. But then, in order to accommodate the evolutionists they teach, the church went apostate and agreed that the earth is round, or it's always some kind of variation of that.
Well, more like they were part of...
he's gonna...
Go ahead, Eli.
He's gonna tell us what happened. So why isn't he telling us what happened? Like Nicholas Copernicus, who'd lived with his uncle and came up in the church with his uncle as a priest. and was up to become a priest. And the church wanting him to get finished with the calendar that we still use today. Where's that story coming in?
He doesn't know
Where's
that.
the story of all of the Christians being persecuted and shut outside their doors like Martin Luther, who put the thesis on the door because all he wanted to do was reform, not actually leave the church. Reform what? Well, they're sitting telling people in the church that they're moving around the sun. You think they'll have a problem with that, given their cosmology right in Genesis, book 1? Where's that story at? Anyway.
No, good rant.
The problem is none of that's true. The idea that the church believed in a flat earth was propagated by the Lite.
In his edit, he's put in a little subscribe and bell thing. And like always, I'm going to do a proper call to action for this dude, because last time it was sort of marred slightly by me doing calls to action for QE's Give, Send, Go. Obviously, notwithstanding, please go and support QE. But I want to support this guy in the YouTube algorithmic love that we definitely don't receive from YouTube. So I'm sticking a link to his video in the YouTube live stream chat for the 120 odd people that are watching. So click on that link, let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully he'll do a response video. Hopefully he'll address the fact that Earth is measured flat for he and the church to extrapolate out the sphere that he believes he is on based on those flat Earth measurements. Go ahead.
He brings flat Earth.
Hold on, Neil. Go ahead, John.
I'm sorry. I will say as a fellow Christian, and I'm sure Neil would get behind me on this, sir, if you have people who are within the body of Christ with you who are concerned, you should be listening to those concerns and trying to sit down and reason with them or understand their point of view. You shouldn't be making them out to be stalkers. That's wrong. And I wouldn't do it to you. And I don't think it's very Christian of you.
If they're coming correctly with concerns and things that they've seen in the scriptures or have not seen in the scriptures, but yet we're told, then he should be sitting down with them and opening up the Word of God. That's what he's supposed to do as a pastor, and showing them in the Word of God why things are what they are, whatever they're bringing to the table. But obviously they don't do that because there is no ball.
It's very easy to, look at people as a them and a they, but let's be clear. I think that we should always take a person by person basis, because with this guy, he reminds me of all the other people that make what a church is look bad, because he has some type of capacity or some type of title. And it means nothing if you're not living up to that. So I don't fault, church people or any people because of a title. It's, are you living up to the capacity or not? And right now, he's not doing a good job.
Well said.
You're on fire. Go on, Neil.
No, I agree. 100%.
Okie dokie. Right, I'm going to just cover, as we have had a couple of contributions come in, QE's Give, Send, Go campaign. So big shout out to Kelrick. Hopefully I've said your name right. Thank you very much for supporting the campaign. And Dank, big spender, $100. Wow. Woo-hoo-hoo. Thank you very much indeed to both of you for supporting the campaign. Also Flat Out Truth, who kicked off the live stream contributions today. So thank you very much to all three of you for supporting during this live stream. Up to $900 on this campaign, so very, very well done. About a third of the way there. Brilliant stuff. Please, smash the share button if you cannot necessarily afford to contribute to the campaign. That's obviously perfectly reasonable. Not everybody can. But I will also stick a link to the GoFundMe campaign in the live stream chat now. Hopefully the people who've come back from... Oh, you've done it already, Adam. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, fine.
But yeah. Please go and share or give generously to the Give, Send, Go, got it right this time, Quantum Eraser campaign. Well, let's get back into this video.
Of Draper and White. But where did they get that idea? Well, they got it from two ancient Christians named Lactantius and Cosmas, who were converts from paganism. What the skeptics will tell you is that all all the church fathers believed in a flat earth. But again, that's not true.
I'm bored of hearing what people will tell me, and then boring references to people and no connections to the actual subject matter with the people he's talking about. I just don't. I'm at a bit of a loss with this. Anybody feel the same way?
Yeah, because he's never actually produced a single document that shows that the church, of whatever time he's claiming, taught as factually this is what the earth was. It's just been a huge straw man because he wants to look down on people who are concerned about him. He's a jerk.
Well, I'm going to appeal to our Christian overlord Bible U in the chat. How do you feel about this, Paula? Should we continue? Is it good, or have you had enough of this? We'll find out from...
I was reading some of Paula's comments, and there's one she said, it does make a comment on Paula, the non-believers, which is interesting that, as Paula says, he's invoked salvation there. Interesting because he began his statement saying the nature of the earth has got nothing to do with that. So whatever you believe, it doesn't matter because your salvation is not dependent on that, which I think we all agreed with. But I don't know whether it was just ad harm. He's very angry at these people, but he did use that as an attack. I'm just trying to find what the exact phrase was. I'm sure he said, there you go. So-called believers, he's judging salvation on this issue is what Paul comment noted, he said earlier.
He did say that. Oh my goodness. Good catch, Paula.
I just came. I missed it. What was said? I just left and came back. I had a call.
He said people that believe that they taught a flat earth in medieval times were so-called believers. He's basing their salvation on this. I missed it, but I remember him saying it. Good job, Paula.
Yeah, in answer to my question, she says this is cringe, but yeah, I completely agree. But should we continue? That's the question. I mean, we can just dissect it after the fact, but it's just actually listening to him is cringe. So I'm in two minds whether or not to stop here, sort of 10 minutes into a 20-minute video or 20+ minute video.
Hold on, I've been going in and out. Has he brought any ball proof to the scriptures yet?
He's brought nothing. It's been absolutely tedious.
Why can you rewind back to where he begins to say, let me tell you what happened?
Rewind isn't going to happen. I'll play a bit more.
True. Go ahead and read all you want from the early Christians about the shape of the earth, and you'll only find two people who actually said that, Lactantius and Cosmas. Now, if you're watching the video version of this, I didn't have a picture of Cosmas, so this is just one of his maps I put up on the screen.
Yeah, here's the issue. Oh, go ahead, Neil.
Go ahead, Eli. I'll go after you, Eli. Go ahead.
All right, so here's the issue. Like, the only people who are concerned with the shape of the earth are the ones making a claim to a shape. There's no reason for someone to say the shape of the earth is flat. They just describe things in the Bible like, the Sodom and Gomorrah residing on a plain, a large plain. Like, it's very descriptive in that way. But it doesn't speak about a shape of the earth at all. So why are you even talking about that? That's not what the church was talking about. They were talking about whether or not we were living in a heliocentric system.
Whether or not what? You broke up at the end.
They weren't talking about the shape of the earth. They were talking about whether or not we lived in a heliocentric system.
I don't have to go to what some guy said how many 100 years ago. I could go right to the Bible now. I don't need to hear from any other people. I could read right from the scriptures, and it does not exist as a ball in the scriptures.
Okay.
I thought you was going to say I could go to the beach right now, because that would be true. You could go to the beach right now, and I assure you, if you're my height, around 6 feet, the distance to the horizon is 1.2 times the square root of the observer's side feet. So the water's edge, so to speak, should be about 3 miles from me. I can assure you that has never been the case. I've been to the beach many times.
Right. Well, we will get to reprimanding Eli for telling us how far Earth curve should be in the after show. But with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus Panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Another massive thank you to all of you in the live stream for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.